folks, welcome to Metal Wani, and today with me I have a very special guest, a person who's seen times change, been there, done that n number of times, and continues to change the trends and set standards in prog. If you haven't been able to guess
hmm
by now, he's worked with people like Mike Portnoy, Neil Morse, and a whole lot of other people. Of course, this is the one and only Roine Stolt. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing very fine, thank you.
So, after the initial reactions for the new album in forms of press reviews, how was the atmosphere at the AndersonSTOLT camp?
Well, I mean, honestly, we've just, I think, well, I'm saying we, but I mean, the record company has just been sending out review copies, or as it is these days, it's not like actual copies, it's more like you're downloading something and you can listen to the album.
Okay.
It's been done recently. So we haven't really seen, we have seen a couple of reactions from journalists, and they're very, very, very positive. So, and I don't know, I try to be careful when, releasing an album, just don't take anything for granted, because it is a great album, but you never know. But it seems like journalists so far have been very kind, very receptive, and really love the album. So that's great news for us.
Wow, that's really exciting to hear and know. So, I really love to get into the album right now, sir. Musically and lyrically, did you have a few song ideas that you wanted to materialize prior to the invention of knowledge, which have, well, at least in some parts, ended up on this record?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. The way the process went was actually because our record company boss suggested to me that I would work with John Anderson. And I think he said it a couple of years ago. At the time, it didn't materialize because I think at the time John was sick, he just left Yes, and he wasn't well. So it didn't materialize at the time. And then the record company boss told me again, Roine, you should work with John Anderson, because I think you're the perfect guy to work with John and sort of realize his visions, etc., etc. And I said, yeah, that would be great. I love Yes music, and I love John's work. And then it came to the point where we were playing with the Flower Kings and with Transatlantic on a cruise ship that went between Florida and the Bahamas, I think.
Yeah.
And we were on the boat, and John Anderson was on the boat too, playing his show with just an acoustic guitar and talking and singing. And after someone suggested that we would play a few songs together with John. So we did. We played Starship Trooper and Long Distance Run Around and You and I. And John also suggested that we play the opening track from Tales from Topographic Oceans, which is one of my personal favorite Yes songs, So we did, and that was sort of the first connection. And the morning after, my record company boss talked to me and said that, Roine, I think we should talk about this again, You should do something together with John. I think it would be perfect. So it just went from there, and he suggested to John that we do something, and John started sending me music, and I just went, very open-minded with the music, trying to put something together with his vocals and his singing and his lyrics and my music, etc., etc. And we just, took on from there, and kept working. And at the time, I think there wasn't really a record contract signed. We just worked very, casual, trying things and then see if we could work together. But after a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you could see that this could actually be something. This could be interesting music. So that's how everything took off, about 2 years ago.
Great. So a great story and finally a great album. Incredible.
Yes.
So one thing from the album was which really took my mind off was took my mind away into all sorts of different times of music. You've taken the nostalgia of the past in your stride and took charge of newer and contemporary jives and tunes. As a result, there's this gem of an album. How did you put all of this together? You've the favorite parts from different times of music and contemporary newer styles.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I think that actually at an early stage, I think John said something like, "Hey, Roine, let's not try make progressive rock. Let's just try make progressive music." And I didn't really understand what he meant, but I think now that what he meant was, let's not try to make music that sounds like it was made in the 70s. Let's not make another Yes album like Close to the Edge or the Yes album or something like that. So that's what he wanted to do, and I just tried to keep an open mind, because working with John Anderson, of course, you realize this is the guy who sang in Yes, and he did, whatever, Layer and Topographic Oceans and Close to the Edge. Of course, you're gonna zoom into that zone of music, and the way you remember him singing all these songs, on the classic albums. So it was, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but I had to be aware all the time that let's not try to make another Close to the Edge, because that wasn't the plan, Let's try to make an album that sounds both fresh and sounds like it's 2016, and an album that has some sort of resemblance or an echo of whatever was done in the 70s when he was doing his greatest albums with Yes, and he was his Elias of Sunhillow solo album, And so that, I think, was my mindset for starting to work with the album. And then we were just, sending ideas back and forth and working bit by bit, part by part, and seeing where the music would take us, and being open-minded. That, I think, was the bottom line,
So, uh, now comes what I'd call is my favorite section. Whenever it comes to an album, I think it really gives a lot of flavor to the music. Yes, the lyrics. Uh, apart from actually just looking at the lyrics and themes, I personally found the lyrics really profound and in some sense uplifting. As an artist, would you say that these lyrics are perhaps a reaction to changing times?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think probably John is the right guy to ask about lyrics, because John's been working on the lyrics and he's been writing all the lyrics for this album. I didn't even think about writing lyrics or coming up with something. I don't know why, but I just assumed that John was, going to come up with the lyrics, and I think that what he's trying to say is his usual being positive, being open to different realities, about us not being just like flesh and blood, human beings, but also spiritual beings. And this is something that you can probably see in John's lyrics. I mean, mostly I would say in the later years. In the beginning when he was starting out with Yes, the lyrics were a little bit different, But I think he's gone through probably personal changes, over the years, for reasons that I probably shouldn't speak, or I don't really know. But I'm guessing that it's like his personal development of his personality and his spirit, and this is what comes into the lyrics. So from what he said, this is something he writes very natural, what comes to his mind, and it certainly works for some people. For some people, they don't really get the picture, but I mean, it is what it is. With music, sometimes if you look at whatever AC/DC or whatever, any rock band out there, they have different lyrics, or the Rolling Stones, or but with John Anderson, it's definitely going to be John Anderson, and it's going to be very, very, very specific and very, very typical John. And I think what we got here on this album is very, very typical John. And I felt it was the right thing for me to do, to not criticize, not ask him to do anything different, because this is sort of his, it's sort of whatever, I think, in terms of lyrics, and the guy who's actually singing the lyrics, I think it's important that whoever is singing the lyrics should believe in what he's singing. So if I'm writing lyrics and someone else is singing, as maybe, I don't know, maybe it works, maybe not, because if you're singing your own lyrics, it's something you can almost talk to the listener. It's getting very personal,
Yes.
It's something that comes from within, and I think that was the right way to go with this album.
I think the album turned out exactly that way. So the way it really did seem to speak to me as a listener, and I think that makes the album more than just simply a record, but realistic human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. Over the decades, you've been witness to changing trends in music and art. Time and again, philosophy and history point out to us that the world is quite empty without the arts. Would you say that today the arts' individuality, creativity is threatened under what might be an industrialized world of art, expectation, music, and knowledge?
Well, it's in a way, it's an interesting time we're living in, but it's also a very difficult time we're living in. It's a time when certain things got diminished, certain things, take on a proportion that's kind of surreal. It's I mean, just looking at what we have, the way people connect, we connect through the internet. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have lots of stuff. People putting up whatever they have to eat on Twitter, they put up on Facebook whatever they did this morning at work, what they had to eat for lunch. It's like a world out there screaming for, for connection and for I don't know. It's a strange time, really. It's a strange time we're living in, and it's like the connection is really is fast. We get connected all through the globe, with Japan, with Africa, with South America, with the Arab countries in an instant. It takes about 30 seconds. So it's a very different world from just rewind like 35, 40 years, It was completely different, But now we're connected all the time. There's so much information. There's really, I would say, too much information. So I'm thinking that maybe our brains are taking in a little bit too much of everything, And the sad thing is that sometimes I think art, music, art, poetry, film, theater, whatever, it gets sort of, I don't know, sidetracked, or it gets sort of put in the background. So I think in this difficult time, when everything is very really fast, if in terms of music, you make an album. If the album isn't a hit within the first week, it's gonna be forgotten, I mean, all these big bands, if whatever, Coldplay, they do a new album, and if critics are very cold to the new Coldplay album, then the album's gonna die within a week. It wasn't like that when the Beatles released Sgt. Pepper or Revolver, or the Rolling Stones, Between the Buttons, or Jimi Hendrix Experience. They had it was a really different time, and people were probably more open-minded. They had more time. There wasn't too much distraction, really. Now it's it's fast times. And I think this album, from what I've seen, the reviews so far have been fantastic, and I'm really happy because, I mean, to be honest, I was a little bit, hesitating. Is this the right time to release an album like this? Will people have the time to listen to the album? Will they listen for the first 3 minutes and then just give up and say, this doesn't sound like Yes, or it doesn't have a hit song, or it's a boring riff, or the drum rhythm is like, oh, it's so slow, it's boring. So it's in a way I was happy, because from what I've seen, reviews so far have been very receptive, very, very nice, very, they've been very kind, towards the music we've made, and so I think I'm kind of surprised and very happy about that, and because it sort of shows that people are still able to take in things, even if it's you're not really smacking their face and giving them, the instant gratification, that people probably crave these days, and in particular, I would say young people, they want everything now, and they want it fast, and they want much, and they want something new every day. And this kind of music is really not tailored to be consumed at that kind of a pace, really. It's supposed to be listened to many times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times. And when you listen the 20th time, you're gonna experience beautiful stuff in there,
Yes, I have to agree with that. Folks, if you're listening to this, every time you listen to this album, it's a new experience.
It is, yeah.
So, let's move on to a whole lot of other projects. Talking about working with Mike Portnoy, any possibility of seeing you on stage with Mike at the Cruise to the Edge on his 50th birthday?
Oh, well, Mike has sent me a couple of emails about it, and to me it seems, to be honest, a long trip to be playing for, 35 minutes, to be honest.
Okay.
And it's just that one-off, so that means lots of rehearsing to do. I'm rehearsing on my part of the guys in the band, for Pete and Neil, and then we get together and we probably have like 20 minutes to rehearse, and then we go on stage and play. I think personally it's not the best conditions for doing a show, because I always want to do the best for the fans,
Okay.
And I do appreciate, yes, it is Mike's birthday and everything, and the other thing is that I'm probably on tour in Europe at that time, so that sort of kill every possibility to be in America at the time. But I'm sure it's going to be fine anyway, because there are people on the boat, playing, and Pete's going to be there, and Neil's going to be there, and they can play transatlantic songs without me. It's not going to make a big difference.
It's been quite a while now since we've had a new Transatlantic and a new Flower Kings record. Is anything on the cards? Do we expect to see anything soon, or can we?
Well, with both bands, and in particular, I think with the Flower Kings, we've been going for 20 years or more now. So it's a very, very long time, and I think for a long time, releasing many albums, many live albums, many videos, etc., DVDs, and touring all the time, it comes to a point where you stop, and you think, are we just going on because we're supposed to go on, or are we really coming up with something unique, something that's great music? So I think that with the Flower Kings, it's probably going to be like a gap for another year or something like that, and then will come something from the Flower Kings, because it's not put on ice forever. It's going to be something, but not at the moment. And with Transatlantic, I have no idea. because it's usually Mike or Neil that's saying, okay, hey guys, should we do another album? And then you have to look at whatever you're doing at the time, and say, yeah, I can. And sometimes it's Pete saying, oh no, I have this album I'm gonna do with Marillion, or I got to do this tour of South America and North America with Marillion, and so we can't do it. Okay, we try to find another time, and at another time maybe I'm on tour with whatever, and so it's difficult. It's not really a band in that sense. It's a project coming together every now and then. So I think that's the problem.
Oh, so the climax and the suspense has just intensified when it comes to Flower Kings and Transatlantic in the wait. So, jumping on to now the newer times and 2016. Talk about the current prog scene, the progressive scene. A whole lot of new other bands like HAKEN, Leprous, Exvius. Have you been digging any of this newer project or progressive projects?
Oh yeah. I've been a fan of HAKEN since the first album, because I bumped into the guys and they were sending me an album. I think the first album, which I was really, really digging. I was telling everyone, and I even tried to get Inside Out to sign them at the time. Okay. But Inside Out said no. but now they signed them, So I was right, and then they made a couple of albums, and now Inside Out signed the HAKEN. So that's a good thing, and they're a really good band. Yeah. And the other band I was trying to get signed to Inside Out was District 97, which is an American band.
Yes.
With Leslie Hunt, great singer and great band, really good band. Yeah, a bit complicated. So I do understand. Yeah, it's not commercial prog, in a way. It's like for the hardcore prog fans. But I mean, they're very, very professional. Sound great. They have a wonderful singer, and I'm just hoping, at some time, they will get signed to some label that understand what they're doing. Because I could see them, coming on to greater things, from here. So there were also like Moon Safari, they're a great band, melodic band, great vocal arrangements, stuff like that. And, they're Big Train, which is an English band, is great melodic prog music.
So, how would you describe the new album, the new AndersonSTOLT album, The Invention of Knowledge, in a very simple way?
Oh, it can't really be described in a simple way.
Well, you can have that.
The album is cut. It has simple songs. I mean, if you listen to the album, you will come across certain sections that are really simple, and we try to keep them simple. I always love the simplicity. Sometimes by the Beatles, the Paul McCartney songs, were really simple. Sometimes you think they were too simple. But I think there's a beauty with something that's not overly complex, something that you made complex of something that was simple in the beginning. And I think with this album, Invention of Knowledge, we try to keep a nice balance between the complex and the more orchestrated stuff, and then when we take it down to very simple, just the piano and vocals, or guitar and vocals. So that kind of thing. But as a whole, the album is really, well, it has everything really. It's really complex in the structure of the songs. So I don't really know how to. I would say probably it's kind of prog light. It doesn't have any metal elements in it. I think that's for sure. So it's like if you liked Yes in the 70s, or if you like John Anderson, well, at the time of Elias of Sunhillow, that time, mid-late 70s, then you're probably going to like this. Maybe fans of the Flower Kings too, because there's probably a fair bit of myself in there too, So in terms of the guitar playing and the orchestration and all that, you can find Flower Kings element in it.
Awesome.
But I'm not the right person to tell what kind of an album it is, really. I'm too close to it.
Yeah, I can understand that. So then you have us, the press, to try and explain what you guys are all about. So as we come to an end, do you have a message for the fans?
I don't know, really. What's the message for the fans? I don't know what to say, really. That's well, the question is a bit general, or it's too big. There's lots you can say to the fans, of course. But well, I would say give the album a chance, even if you think it's sounding a bit different in the beginning. I'm thinking after 10, 15 listenings, you're gonna find stuff in there. There's gonna be people you can't win over, whatever, who likes really hard riffing, metal, prog, that kind of thing. Maybe don't like the album, but I think it's an album that will grow on you, just like the albums did back in the day. Whatever. I mean, Yes or Genesis or Elton John or Supertramp, all those guys, they were making albums, and maybe you didn't love the album the first time, but you give it a bit more listens, and then you gradually go into the world of this album, and that album, and I think Invention of Knowledge is that kind of an album, that has the qualities of the 70s album. It's got staying power, as they say.
Yes, it certainly has. It's been a real pleasure and an honor talking to you, sir. Knowledge, healing, knowing, and the self. Folks, do not miss the invention of knowledge. It's a great pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen,
thanks for having us.
It's Roine Stolt once again for you. And this is Roshan signing off.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.